If you would like to see me get pelted with gallons of water, then be sure to check that out, and while you're at it, subscribe to Brick Wall. Now let's get started with this video. I had an idea of this concept before, but then a viewer all the way from Norway got a hold of me on Discord to make this happen. The point of this new series is to show off the community's interesting builds. I'm not concerned about raw performance, I like interesting, unusual, and sexy. And I'm also a fan of the first gen Core i7 processors, and that's exactly what he has right here. But before we get into that, let's talk about the motherboard because that's what he started with in the video that he sent me. He has an X58 Sabertooth from Asus, the LGA 1366 socket with triple channel DDR3 support, many options for SATA expansion as well as a good amount of expansion slots in terms of PCI and PCIe. And now we get to look at the i7-980X, a 6-core, 12-thread part with a stock speed of 3.33 GHz. However, he did overclock it to 4.2 GHz for the benchmarks. He also has an i7-3770, but I was way more interested to see this old chip perform. He also has 12 gigs of DDR3 memory at 1600 MHz, nothing too special, but is some good looking Corsair memory. To keep the overclocked 6-core cool, he has the Cooler Master Hyper 212X. Not much more to say about that, I guess. And for the graphics, he's using a very lovely Sapphire Nitro R9 390 8GB, I believe, because as we all know, size does matter. It's all going to be going inside of this beautiful Corsair 460X. It has 3 RGB fans in the front as intake, and it can fit up to 3 more for exhaust. However, he just has one in the back, so we have a very strong positive airflow situation. For storage, he has a 480GB SSD as well as a 500GB hard drive, nothing too special about that, and he already has a CX750M installed as a power supply for his case, or in this case for his power supply, whatever, you get it. I think this is a very pretty system, thanks to the case and its very lovely LEDs and tempered glass side panels. He was so lucky as to get a processor, motherboard, and RAM all for free. The whole system costs only a little over $200 USD, that's an amazing value. So, in Cinebench R15, he got a CB of 922 thanks to all the threads the i7 has. And in the OpenGL test, the R9 390 got 70.81 FPS. In 3D Mark Firestrike, the system got a score of 10,319, which is pretty high, especially for a processor this old. And finally, Geekbench 4. The CPU got a single core of 3307 and a multi-core score of 14,962. Now this is a pretty capable system. The CPU is a bit old, but since it's been overclocked as well as since it has a great number of threads, it still holds well today. Now leave a like on this video if you enjoyed this short video or its simple concept. You know, a viewer can submit his or her, but most likely his according to my analytics, and then I can show it off on here. Also feel free to subscribe and don't forget to check out that video on Brick Wall of me getting pelted with gallons of water. And finally, thanks for watching. Oh yeah, and sorry I haven't been active for a couple weeks.